Hi there, this is a response to Pyrrho. Hi there, Pyrrho, and your video on word as concept, particularly word as concept around the word consideration and other words like consider and considerable. That's great stuff. I love that. I really like that. I've done a bunch of videos on words myself, not recently, so it was fantastic to see that video, because I'm really interested in the etymology of words as well, and just how they're functioning really. I know people say that you can't really derive the meaning of a word from its etymology, and that's correct. You have to look at contemporary usage, I recognise that. But at the same time, etymology is so interesting, partly from a nerdy point of view, but also because I think it tends to, oops, sorry, I've forgotten there was corners here. Also because it tends to provide really concrete images, it does for me at least, that give those words kind of solidity, for me at least. I can use them. I find I can use them better if I've got solid images, because I firmly believe, I'm sure you know this by now, but one of my interests is embodied cognition and cognitive linguistics and that whole school of thought, which basically says that if we're understanding a word, that understanding takes the form of making some kind of image in the brain. Something is going on in our minds, and concrete images are being formed non-consciously through things like metaphor and so on. So even though I may not have known what the origins and the etymology of a word like consider would have been, and traced its actual origins in concrete experience, there must be some kind of concrete experience going on in my brain somewhere to give that word meaning, otherwise I wouldn't understand it. Sorry, big corner coming up. Whee! Okay. Alright, so consideration, fantastic, and consider. We had a little bit of checking on this. I did a few videos on words that begin with C-O-N or C-O-M some time ago, like consciousness and that kind of thing. But yeah, consideration is another one of those, isn't it? It's a with word. The com means with, and the sidere part of it at the end of it. It's contested, this, I understand, but my understanding is that originates in references to the stars. And it's still present in that sense. We still talk about sidereal time, don't we? That's been star time, as it's sometimes called. It's the time that astronomers use. So sidere is the stars. So when you're considering something, or you're applying consideration, it's something to do with being with the stars. And historically, I guess that's to do with, there's a kind of astrological connection for that, really. What I think you're saying when you're saying that you are operating considerately, or you're operating with consideration, or you are operating with the stars, you're basically saying, you are thinking about what the future holds. You're thinking about what auguries they are. And augur is another great word, by the way. What auguries they are, and you're keeping those things in mind when you consider the outcome of an action. You are taking a kind of astrological reading of the possible outcomes, in a way, I think. Consideration. It's interesting you reference it to, or just in passing, you're talking about the other meaning of consideration as meaning care, which again is a fantastic understanding of it. Consideration and care, as in terms of that kind of caring role, you relate it to sympathy, which is again very insightful, isn't it? Because sympathy, I think, means something like with the body. It's not exactly with, but simpatico is with, kind of with the body. You're sharing the body. So there's some kind of relationship between those. But it seems to me that when you're claiming consideration, it's almost as if you're the kind of with that you are in the presence of is a kind of distanced optical with. If you're with the stars, you're with them in the sense that you can see them from a long way off, and you're constellating the possibilities from that distanced optical appreciation. If you're simpatico, if you're sympathizing with someone, again, yes, you might be caring, but it's a much more up close and personal caring, isn't it? It's with the body. So the path in sympathy is the path of the body, the path that features in pathology and that leads to the body, in a sense. So I think there is a similarity, but the etymology just prizes them apart a little bit for me. in a way that I find quite interesting. I've got a really steep corner coming up here, a 90-degree bend, so I am sorry you're going to get seasick from this video. I thought I'd have finished it by now. I thought it'd only take me 3 miles to make this video, but it's not, it's taken me 3.5 already. Yeah, roundabout coming up as well. So yeah, consideration. I suppose I'm also thinking about care in the Heideggerian sense. Heidegger talks about care, or the German word for care, which doesn't mean consideration in the sympathetic, empathetic sense. Heidegger wasn't really known for his ability to empathise, but care in the sense of kind of invest in, or draw attention to, or keep under scrutiny, or have in mind, or kind of hold close to one's consciousness, give significance to it. It's in those kind of terms, which I do think has some relationship to consideration. You know, it's the thing you look to. If you care about something in the Heidegger sense, you kind of look to it. Not necessarily the cherishing way, or even an entertaining way, but look to it as a kind of path, or as a kind of contributor to your own future, and to your relevance and significance and implementation in the world, I think. Anything else? Yeah, just back to the consideration thing. The other word that jumps out at me when I'm thinking about considere with the stars is desidere, which is the I think it's of the stars, is it? Or from the stars? From the stars, yeah, I think that's right, desidere, which I've heard is the roots of the word like desire. You know, desires, wants, wishes are of the stars, to the stars. So it's these things that are. So not only are these things, are the stars, the constellations, a place that you look to keep in mind, because they're important things to consider, but they're also the sources of desiderata, of kind of desires, and the attractions, and the pull of the future almost. Anyhow, that makes some kind of sense. I'm in Redruth now, lots of bands coming up, I better shut the camera.